When we decided to make a documentary about the Swedish West Coast, we knew we were facing a number of challenges. First of all, was it even possible to make a documentary without a budget? We felt it was important to make a serious attempt. Communicating the message was more important to us than making a profit from the film. We believed we had a strong story, a clear narrative running through the script, and we were ready to take on the challenge of cutting and color grading the film for ourselves. From the very beginning, the decision not to involve any production companies felt right. The script was entirely ours and no one else could influence or shape the story for their own benefit. Stefan was done with the script and I began filming the B-roll on the island of Öland, as Stefan spoke about grey seals from the Baltic Sea in the voiceover. I needed around 25 seconds of footage. It took 3 days and almost 100 kilometers to capture the shots I was looking for. As beautiful as the landscape of Öland is, none of the other footage could be used in the final film. All that footage stayed on the hard drive, because this was a story about the West Coast, not the East. Back on the West Coast, the timing was perfect to search for harbor seals and cormorants. It was early June and the harbor seals had given birth just a few weeks earlier. Finding seals that tolerate human presence is very difficult, and we had to be careful not to get too close and scare the pups. If frightened, the pups become stressed, the heart rate rises, oxygen is used more quickly, and their ability to stay underwater is reduced. In the end, we brought in seal expert Sven-Gunnar Lunneryd, who has spent many years researching seals. He took us to an island near the Norwegian border, and here we were finally able to film the seals without disturbing them. Another species that's difficult to get close to is the cormorant, so we decided to film from a boat. That was easier said than done. That day the waves were quite rough and keeping the camera steady was a real challenge. A few days later we headed out to another island to capture something unique. Cormorants nesting in trees, the only place on the West Coast where this happens. Another challenge was filming underwater. How could we get the shots without filming underwater ourselves? For one day we were able to borrow an ROV. Lisa was in charge of operating it. This was our first time using an ROV and we had no idea if it would give us the footage we needed. In the end, most of the underwater scenes came from Tobias Dahlin, a brilliant underwater filmmaker. We filmed many interviews during the making of this documentary. Some went exactly as planned, others didn't. But the one I remember most is the interview with Sixten Söderberg. He has been a fisherman since childhood. The sea has always been his workplace. Today, he's fighting to reshape the future of the fishing industry, designing gear that is gentler on the seabed and more selective, protecting vulnerable fish stocks. Sixten regrets his role in the collapse of cod in the Baltic Sea. But back then, he didn't know what the consequences would be.
Alltså, inom fisket då så har de sagt, nej det tar aldrig slut. Jag var med och tömde torsken i Östersjön, vet du. Jag var med och tog den sista torsken.
When he was done talking, Lisa and I just laughed. We'd never done an interview without asking a single question, and we got the best answers ever. In this moment, he reflects on the power of small changes. Even a minor shift in our habits can make a difference. It's easy to say, we'll change, he explains. The real challenge is turning those words into action. That's what the future demands. The interview with Benno about oysters turned out to be more challenging than we expected. I forgot my glasses, which made it really hard to set the focus, and my headphones didn't work. We decided to film the interview right where they were bringing up the oysters, but the sounds from the machines was incredibly loud. This was a serious setback. Thankfully, we had a second camera running, and that one was perfectly in focus. The sound could be repaired later in post-production. Still, in that moment, it felt as if nothing was going our way. Just when I thought nothing else could go wrong, I discovered that it could. While filming Janne speaking about blue mussels, I accidentally recorded the entire first interview in slow motion without sound. What was meant to be a simple 2-minute interview turned into 8 minutes of beautiful, cinematic, completely silent footage. Several times, instead of turning the camera on, I confidently switched it off right in the middle of Janne's answers. A classic beginner's mistake? Absolutely. But even the simplest buttons can become surprisingly complicated when the stakes are high. Even the most experienced professional have bad days. Sometimes it all becomes a little too much, and in that moment focus slips. This time it was Stefan's turn to have one of those days.
Vår film är snart slut, och för oss som har gjort den har det varit en helt underbar resa. Det öppna hav... Nu är jag helt borta. Ja. Vår film är snart slut, och för oss som har gjort den så var... Vår film är snart slut, och för oss som har gjort den har det varit en helt underbar resa. Helt underbar, lite snabbare. Det har det gått väldigt bra för. Man har kommit runt.
Securing funding for a documentary is not easy. The making of Swedens Saltiest coast was made possible because of people who volunteered, operating boats and letting us use their footage for free. We also had to take on many roles ourselves, learning to color grade and cutting the film. In the end, this is not only a film about the West Coast. This is a film about the work behind the camera, what we can achieve with commitment, collaboration, and the courage to make it happen with limited resources.